Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just wanted to show you my third week October journal layout for my bullet journal. And it is a witch theme. If we haven't met, I'm Viv. Welcome to Art with Viv, and we will just jump into it. This is my October theme for my bullet journal, and it is a Halloween theme. My cover page is a raven on a skull, and then I just did some pumpkins for my sort of content calendar, content planning part of my monthly spreads. And then for the first week, I did a ghost in a graveyard theme. Week 2, I did a black cat. It's not pictured here. But now we're on week 3, and we are going to get started on our witch. Now, of course, I'm still doing this in gouache. This is a witch flying in the night. Witches are a staple for Halloween. They date all the way back to Bible times where they are mentioned. I think there's a story about King Saul, and he gets a witch to summon the prophet Samuel, I believe. And he wants Samuel's spirit to help him defeat the Philistine army. And the witch prophets, or maybe Samuel prophesizes that Saul's gonna die and his sons are gonna die. And then lo and behold, the next day his sons die in battle and he commits suicide. So witches have been around since biblical times, or at least the thought of witches, and they have sort of metamorphosized throughout our generations. They can be anything from a green-skinned, warty-faced woman flying on a broom across the night sky, or a beautiful witch that twitches her nose, and casts her magical spells in more modern day times. I think there was a witch hysteria, of course, in the medieval times. People were afraid of witches. Also during colonial times, there was also another big blow up about witches. People were very afraid of them. A lot of times witches were just strong, independent women. Sometimes they were widows or unmarried. And those were the ones that were targeted as witches, whether they were witches or not. Those were the type of women that were targeted. But now I'm more familiar with a granny witch. Granny witches are in the Appalachian Mountains, and they're really more of herbalists. They cure things through roots and herbs. Now, one of them will put a root on you, and you don't want that. That means you got a curse on you. God knows my grandma hated it if she thought somebody had put a root on her. And she would do anything to reverse that curse, get it reversed. But Appalachian witches are more along the line of healers than anything. And I've never seen any of them riding on a broom. As a matter of fact, the first witch, or the first person who was considered to be a witch that confessed to flying through the sky on a broom, was actually a man. And he was, after tortured for a good long time, he finally admitted that yes, he was a witch, and he flew through the sky on a broom. And even though he repented, they kept him in jail for the rest of his life. But I think that sort of myth of the witch flying through the sky pretty much came from old pagan fertility rituals where, farmers they had this little moonlight dance that they would do, and it was quite animated, and they would use brooms and different things in their little fertility dance. And I think that's just where the myth sort of started, was through that, about them witches flying through the sky. So I have this little witch silhouette. All I did was I painted my background with a nice deep purple. I painted the moon behind her bright yellow, and I'm painting her just a solid black for now. I'll come back and add highlights. And again, I'm doing all of this with gouache. My witch has this beautiful, fluffy, flying hair. She's zipping through the sky on her broom. And it's a nice full moon on a nice Halloween October. Might not be Halloween, but it's a nice October night. She is flying over some pumpkin fields, and the pumpkins are ripe, and the moon is glinting off of them, and she has some bats flying around her. And that was my vision for this weekly spread. And I'm kind of liking it. Witches are very mysterious in some cultures. Some, they are revered because they are healers. And in some cultures, of course, they are thought to be doing the devil's bidding through, witchcraft, sorcery, spells, whatever is at their disposal. But I guess legends have to start somewhere, and humans just love to be afraid. So much so they have to make up things to be afraid about. And witches are one of them. And last week I did the cat, the black cat, and of course black cats were thought to be companions of witches. As a matter of fact, if you were going to get burned at the stake or accused of witchcraft in ancient times, the one clue or the one sign that they would decide that you're a witch is that you had a cat. Any female that had a cat was thought to be a witch. It is kind of laughable now because some of us have multiple cats. And that would be rough, trying to round up all the cat people to call them witches. Now on my pumpkins, I did a lighter orange, and all I did was mix some white gouache with my orange gouache, tiny bit of yellow in there, and I'm just putting a highlight so that it looks like the moon is shining off of those pumpkins. They're just out there laying in the field. But a lot of the witches were actually just women that practice healing through medicine, herbal medicine, and gathering all the different things that would actually heal you. I mean, a lot of medicine comes from herbs, and they knew a lot about that. But it scared some people, and I'm pretty sure they probably got into some hallucinogenic mushrooms and might have passed those out here and there, and that might have startled somebody that wasn't expecting to be hallucinating from some medicine they took from the witch. And that may have contributed to their reputation as an evildoer. Who knows? I'm not sure. I'm not really well versed in witches. I just know generalities about where they come from and what their legends behind some of them are. But I did this cute little witch flying over the pumpkin patch, bats all around against a full moon. Now for those pumpkins, I did like an orange for the mid-tone. I mixed in white, yellow, and orange for the highlights, and then for those darker segments, the lines in between each segment and the shadows, I just added a little red to the orange, a little bit of green for the little pumpkin stems. It's really a simple painting. It almost looks childlike, but I don't care. I like it. I like it a lot. Once I get the highlights on there, it'll look really pretty and more, it'll have more definition. Just more definition. I'm just dabbing in some more highlights as my witch is flying through the sky with her hair flowing out behind her and her pointy little boots, and making my pumpkin shine in the moonlight with those highlights. I'm starting to get the hang of gouache, although I still am going light to dark sometimes. I'm trying to force myself to go from dark to light, which seems to work out better with gouache. Either way, it's okay. I mean, it still looks okay, but it's a lot less work going from dark to light than it is from light to dark for some reason. I got a few little gray clouds, little wispy, misty clouds up in the sky, mostly just to give it a little interest and to give it some, I don't know, just something different. I guess it's just a little extra something in there. And now I'm adding a few more shadows into those pumpkins. Again, I just added some red into the orange to darken it up. And that's going to provide my shadows. Just simple shadows in the cracks, in the little crevices in between each section. You know how the pumpkins have those little sections, those little bulbous, lumpy sections. And I'm just taking a little bit of white and adding some highlights, and that just gives the flatness of that black some definition. Gives you a hint of the witch and her broom, so that she's not just flat black up there against the sky. Put some on those bats, on her broom, here and there, and she is looking really good. I like this spread for its simplicity and its childlike look to it. So I'm going to have to finish out the rest, and we're just going to use my magic wand to finish the spread. There you go, and it is done, week 3. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and don't forget to give me a like, share it with a friend, and maybe subscribe. See you soon.